I think I'm going to give you a little music while I gear up some of my charts. I figure we need something to get the mood a little lighter. You know, even though I think today was a decent day for a lot of guys out there, just this market is like so lethargic. It's so, you know, pick your spots, pick your stocks, and just move in, move out, and you overstay your welcome and you give money back. And I would think most guys keep, getting to their highs of the day by, maybe 9:42. But anyway, so after today's action, the question is, what does it mean? You know, you can't really decipher what today's action means because each day it feels as if the market's telling us something, but all it's telling us is that we're in this range and that you have to be very stock specific. You have to take your trades. You have to be long, short. You have to use your tier system because, you can't, hold max size too long without selling it to strength. And that's about it. You look at the chart of the spiders and you see a lot of the same, or this is the SPX. Okay, so, does this make sense right now? That's the question. Okay, does it make sense that here is Friday's low? Okay, here is today's high, and we held, somewhat in there. So how bearish is this? Not that bearish. A lot of people are out there saying, oh, well, we can't break above, the highs here, which is true because we haven't had that many fantastic earnings to propel us higher. And, we're in this kind of lethargic state. We're still in this uptrend. We're in the upper end of it, and we'll have to figure out, what's next. But again, from Friday's low to yesterday's strong day into today's gap up, you could have sold some strength and held on. In my morning note today, I talked about how I had 6-7 longs on, and I would sell a half on the gap up. So Apple was above 128. The spiders were like at 210, 50 something. You had FireEye up $2, Cyber up $2. You had lots of good gap ups. So you sell half and then you figure out whether or not you could hold the other half and then maybe add to it for a strong day, or you break even or you lose a little bit on the leftovers and then figure out what's next. So let's just go back to the recap here. You go back to the SPX and here we are hovering. Okay, we had two gap ups. You had a gap up yesterday that created a gap and go, and today I pretty much said I don't think we get a gap and go. Why would we? But we also did not fall apart. You go to the spiders to take a look at what's cooking here. All in all, I guess let's go to the 5-minute chart. We're still above. Okay, let me just show you here. We're still above yesterday's gap up. So, is this stalling into this, or is this, a big gap up, sell some strength, digestion? To be honest, I'm not that sure, and I'm not that heavy, and I'm very stock specific. Let's look at some sectors. The Qs, still gap up, going sideways. Tomorrow, do we fill this gap? Maybe, or do we, continue? We'll see that tomorrow. All in all, again, the Qs from where we came from on Friday morning to where we opened today, you can't really be that upset. So maybe some work above this and we'll continue. Plus, a lot of guys, I think, were short on the close yesterday, short of the open and made some money. I know for me, if you're on the VTF, I had 6-7 longs. I shorted the spiders into the gap up because I didn't have the spiders, and I figured, if we come in after selling some longs, I can make some money with a cute short on the spiders, playing in the range, and that can make me some money while I figure out if I could buy a pullback. But unfortunately, a lot of the pullbacks after the first half an hour never really got going again, and you had to sit in them. So let's just start going through some stocks. Like Apple. Apple, what a friggin' rangy, choppy, you name it. That's what it is type of name right now. But again, why would it really be off to the races when earnings are until next week? So here is the low on Friday. Yesterday, big day, and still held in there. I remember when I went to Florida, okay, I'm trying to figure out, that was on this day. I went on this day, I sold some into strength, or where was it? Maybe it was right around here. I sold some into, I took this long, next day sold some into strength, and then I bought, and I got kind of stopped out, and it was a crappy trade. So here, are we holding a little higher, a little better? A little bit. So I'm still in Apple. I'm in less than I had last night, and we'll figure out what's next. And perhaps at some point this could get cleared, but at least if it doesn't, going into earnings, we have a very well-defined pivot, which comes around 128.5, and then you have the highs here. If you go to Facebook, it traded off. I had it long overnight. I sold it into the gap. That was one of the things that actually sold well, because I was like, you know what, I know Facebook and I know what it does, and you have this channel, and here's when it broke back in above the resistance, and with earnings on Wednesday, why would it continue and just be a rock star ahead of it? So anyway, got in it yesterday, sold it yesterday, and then maybe I'll be a buyer of the dip. I'm still in my options, and we'll figure it out. Twitter is kind of lethargic, but every time it lulls everyone to sleep, it tries to do something. All in all, from the gap up after earnings, your red dog reversal here, your nice little trade there into your wide range bar. Then it got choppy again, but it held, gave you an additional trade, and now it's kind of holding again, and maybe at some point we get another additional trade. We'll have to wait and see. LinkedIn is just a choppy mess, and not much you could say about this whole mishugash except for trade 3 and 5 minute charts. Yelp, someone said something earlier. What did it do today? Little treasures for trash trade. It was a bit stronger. Every time I feel like I get in it, like I got in here, somebody tells me that there's some kind of antitrust or Justice Department probe, and meanwhile it's not going down. So at some point maybe it does squeeze above this 50-20. I am not in it. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow if we can get into that gap. You know what was good today, or perked up again? The solar names. You look at FSLR, not sure why, but stock has been very strong. It hasn't been able to give you a momentum move. It did give you this gap up that never got filled. You remember this little gap up here? Never got filled. Then it went sideways for a while. I remember being long on this day. Did nothing the following day. Now it's trying to perk up again. So we'll see. I did get long a little FSLR today. SPWR is a little stronger. I didn't get long that one, but this too looks okay. This one broke above this on the Apple News, and then it's been flagging, and maybe there's something to do here tomorrow. We'll see how we open. But this also looks good. Another name, Solar City. Solar City is interesting. Okay, look how far back this channel goes. I know it's been broken. It's been taking a lot of time to rebuild. You haven't heard Musk or anyone say anything about this name in a while. And this is a big time, long term channel. This is when it kind of broke right there, when it had all these false breakouts, and now it's trying to rebuild. It's starting to reclaim a lot of moving averages. So it'll be interesting to see if there's something exciting going on here. It's now reclaimed a lot of moving averages. I'm long this one. It's the first time I'm long Solar City overnight in a while. We'll see, what's next. But it does look pretty good, closing the highs of the day while the market closed pretty much near the lows of the day. I'm also in a little Tesla. Don't love the name. I know it's a high valuation story type stock. It's not really quite the momentum name now. It did break above this downtrend. It did hold sideways even with a small downgrade, and it looks as if it's ready to do something here. I know there was a story that Google almost took them over when they were having some trouble, so it shows that they might want to do something with someone at some point. Not the reason to buy it, but technically it showed some relative strength today. Maybe at some point it blasts above the 200-day and gives you another nice trade. So far this was your gap and go that never got filled, and today it showed some relative strength, so it makes sense to be in, I guess, some of it. What did oil do today? Oil had its first red day. Doesn't mean it's game over here for oil. Okay, oil has had a really nice move from the lows. Remember this outside day right there. From there it's been trending higher, and it's in this nice little ascending channel. It still has some room if it wants to pull in more. This is where it broke out from. It still could be fine and pull into here and still have this trend intact, but it might not be as pent up with inventories and this and that, whatever you want to blame it on. But here was your outside day, cover some shorts, first move, held higher, another move, held higher, and then now it looks as if it could correct a little bit. So we'll see what the story is there. You go to your weekly chart, and this is the major, just so you could see. Look how well defined this break was. This could have been an out for you. This could have been an out for you. This could have been an out for you. There was no reason to sit through oil during this debacle. And look where the 200-day was. Once you get below the 200-day and you don't reclaim the 200-day, you get out of the way. Anyway, this is where we are now. Just kind of interesting that everyone started talking about how is the bottom in, and that was after, after a bottom was put in down here. The question was, is there follow through? And as of right now, it remains to be seen. Let's see if it does some sideways action and then perhaps tries once again. Gold, you really can't, hang your hat on much here. Let's go to the daily chart. It did turn up somewhat today, so we'll see. We'll see. Just I guess if you're long gold, be long versus 114, and at some point, if it were to get going, perhaps you get another trade there. This was your outside day engulfing one on, not really outside day, but very engulfing day on gold, and gave you a quick move up, and it's been just getting tighter and tighter. So you'll see what's next there. One thing that was a little, I guess, I don't know what the word is, not interesting, but not concerning. The banks, the decent earnings that came out of the banks, they looked good, and then they started to, weaken a bit. Like Goldman Sachs, I know it had that move prior to the earnings, but then earnings were pretty good. They sold it, which made sense, but I would have thought this would have held. But here we are, coming down to test it. I don't know if it breaks it, but you have your high, a lower high here. If this were to break, that might spell some weakness. Same thing with JP Morgan. Every fast money guy out there was saying, marry JP Morgan. Marry it. I guess that's why 50% of marriages end in divorce. And they were saying up here. So I'm sure into this, maybe they'll say divorce it, and then we could buy it a little bit lower. But anyway, this was your, I guess, your excitement, and now it's just coming in and broke the 8-day. We'll see what happens here. But it's not, pent up, and it's not showing such commitment up here, but I guess the market's not really that pent up itself. So we'll see what's next here. Rates might be not going higher, and who knows if some of these banks are exposed to what could be a disorderly exit by Greece. So we'll see. So all in all, just in closing, there's movement in a lot of individual names. You have to take it when it comes. Oh, I listed this stock today. This one worked for me pretty well. PANW. Nice. This is, that movie from As Good as It Gets, what was that saying? One to love. Well, this is one to love. Close on the dead highs, gap and go. We talked about buying 148-ish. I think I bought 149 and sold 152-ish. Good trade. Maybe I should have stayed in it, but whatever. It's hard to stay in things. You don't get that paid. But this is at highs, and you look at, Cyber closed relatively well on highs, and FireEye not as good, but I think it's still fine. It happens to not be the strongest one. It has the most memories out there because it's been battered and bruised from all those faulty deals here. I still think at some point, this stock could see north of 50. First move was here to start the year, but we'll see what happens there. So still lots of things to do. You have to use it to your system. You have to take your trades. You have to know your time frame. You have to be quick, nimble, prepared. All things that we, pretty much do on a day-to-day basis in order to have a career in this business and to be set up for success. Sometimes people are like, oh, you got lucky in that trade. I don't call it lucky. I say, opportunity meets preparation, and I guess that's luck. Or what's that saying? I'm tired. We had the Spartan race this weekend. I had my charity event Saturday night. Last night we had a whole nother event. So it's been a long weekend. It's only Tuesday, and we have a lot of earnings. So maybe tonight I'll get a better night's sleep. And let's see if we can end it on a little bit of an upbeat type music, to continue it. I like Bruno. Let's see, where's Bruno here? Hold on. See you later. Turn it off, Reddy.